Hello ladies and gents, the hipster carpenter coming back again. This video is just going to be a little thing about making some coal jaws for the wood lathe for my dad. I don't do much wood turning, but he does a lot of wood turning, and he doesn't have any coal jaws. I'm not sure how much he'll even use them, but I wanted to think of a little Christmas gift for him. And I wanted it to be something that he could use and make turning a little bit easier. So I didn't film me doing any of this stuff, so I just wanted to kind of talk through what I did. This is a 14-inch diameter circle that's going to get cut into 4 different sections. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 different jaws, all with circles at every inch, and then 30-degree angled lines, so it splits each jaw into thirds. Collect my thoughts. And I'm going to drill holes at each one of these intersections, and I bought just like a replacement set of the little rubber grippers for coal jaws. I think they were like 20-30 bucks, something like that. So this is a really cheap project if anybody else wants to do it. I've never done this before, so hopefully it turns out good, but it can't be that hard. The hardest part's just going to be making sure that I get the hole spacing just right for the chuck, to make sure that these can attach good to the chuck. Other than that, that's about all I did. I made this little compass type thing, just drilled a hole a little bit bigger than the screw so that you can screw it into the middle, and then just stick a pencil down in here at whatever radius you want. So like the 5-inch would make a 10-inch circle. And so I just kind of spaced them out. So that'll let you do a big range of bowl sizes, because of course these will be connected to the chuck, so you'll be able to clamp these. So I'm not sure how much range of motion, probably about 1 inch or so of clamping action on the chuck. So you should have enough spacing here to do any size that you want. That's really about it. I'm gonna try to use a trick that I saw Jimmy DeResta do in a video for cutting a circle, where I'm gonna have like a little sled and screw this down to the sled, this 7-inch diameter away from the blade, and then just have it pivot around that point and just chop off the edge and make a nice perfect 14-inch circle. And then I'm just going to cut it probably with a table saw, maybe with a bandsaw. I'm not exactly sure I'm going to do that yet. Maybe kind of tricky, but we're just going to wing it and see what happens. It's not a very involved project, so shouldn't be too long of a video, so stay tuned and we'll get started working. Okay, so what we've got here is my little homemade cheap miter sled. Just got one rail on it. And I've measured 7 inches from this edge of the blade over here to the sled, so it should cut a perfect 14-inch circle. And I've measured 7.5 inches from my little fence back here, just so it doesn't get in the way. And I had to trim down the corners on the bandsaw just to get it to fit in here. If you just had a plain sled though, basically just a piece of wood with one little runner on it, that would work even better for doing this. But I didn't want to make another thing, so I'm just going to use this. Basically what I'm going to do is just turn the saw on and just run it through, and then rotate it, run it through, and just kind of rotate it around and let it trim right around the edge. Just got it screwed in here. Like I said, just make a hole a little bit bigger than the screw so that it can move, and then just screw it down into the board, not super tight, but just enough so you can still move it. So here we go. So you can tell that I cut it a little bit too close whenever I was rough cutting it down. So I've just moved the screw over maybe a half an inch. And I'm just going to make another pass all the way around and get it so that it's nice and circular all around the edge. Alright, so next I've just got it in my crosscut sled, and I'm just going to cut it into the 4 pieces that it's going to be in. This doesn't have to be super precise. I'm just going to try to follow my lines that I've drawn on there as best I can. And then after that we'll start drilling all the holes for the little rubber stoppers. Alright, so honesty moment real quick. I screwed up the first pair that I had made. I cut in that clip that y'all just saw, this little angle here. My thinking was to just create some clearance in the middle so that they wouldn't run into each other, but I took off too much, and the first bolt that was going to go in here would have been too close to the edge, and I just don't feel comfortable with that, so I made a whole new set. It didn't take too long, actually. It took a lot shorter this time than it did yesterday. And I have not cut the center out, and I won't until I lay out my holes and see how much I can cut out. And I'll probably just barely take any off the corner, maybe like an 1/8 off of each one, just to give some clearance so that there's no interference whenever they come together. So just wanted to share that and not act like it didn't happen and that I'm perfect, because I'm far from it. So everybody makes mistakes. I always appreciate whenever people show their mistakes in videos. So I wanted to do it in this one. So let's continue, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to talk y'all through how I laid out my hole placement for the jaws. So this is the chuck that I'm going to be mounting the jaws to. It's just a 4-jaw chuck, not independent 4-jaw, but I took off one of the jaws that's on there right now, and to find the distance between 2 holes on center, what I did was took the calipers. If you don't have a pair of calipers, you can get some for pretty cheap, and for woodworking they don't have to be really precise, nice ones. So all I did was measure outside to outside hole dimensions and get that number, which is about 9.961 outside to outside hole dimensions. And then you measure the diameter of the hole, which is 0.25, and then to get center to center distance from the hole, you take your 0.961, your outside to outside dimension, minus the diameter of your hole, because you're taking away 1/2 diameter here and 1/2 diameter here. So 0.961 minus 0.25 gives me 0.711. And if I dial in 711 here, you can see that that is a nice center to center distance for my hole. So that's how I got that dimension. And then finding where to start this hole from the edge, I took a square and butted the jaw up into the square, and then just use my calipers. Let's see if I can do this right now. Just take your calipers and come in there to the corner of your square, to the back side of that hole, and get your measurement, which mine is about 0.575. And then you're going to subtract 1/2 diameter, so for me that's 1/8 of an inch, to get the center of that hole, because you measured center to back of the hole, so you have to subtract 1/2 of the diameter, which gave me 0.45 to start my hole. So that's my center distance from the center point. So 0.45, you can see, gives me that distance right there. So I made those marks first on every piece without changing the calipers, so that I know all of the holes are exactly the same distance. And then I went to my second hole spacing, just dialed in my measurement that I got, and then mark all those holes without changing the calipers. And then that gives you all of your holes to mount to the chuck. And then now I just have to go and drill and then countersink these screws here. So you can see it's actually more of a counter bore than a countersink, but you can see they fit down in there. They're sub flush with the jaw. So that's how you lay out your holes. Then you drill them, and then I've got about 1 million holes to drill for all these, but that's all I got. So let's keep on going. And there you have it. Fits like a dream. Let me unscrew this here. The only thing I'm minorly worried about is just that I did have to countersink this so far that there's not a lot of wood down there for it to grab onto. So that might be a problem. I'm not sure exactly. But there you go, you can see it nice and countersunk. Exact hole spacing, very nice. So now I just got to drill the other ones. So here's the jaws all fitted. They line up pretty well. Let me crank this all the way down. So you can see I've got a little bit off there in the middle. It's not a super huge deal. Maybe if I don't think going in there and clearancing will really do anything. My holes must have, just been slightly off center on a couple of them and caused it to get a little shifted. But it shouldn't really be a huge problem. So now I'm going to go through and drill all these holes for the little rubber grips that I have, and I believe those are 1/4-inch holes as well. So more drilling. So here's the finished jaws. I've got to get 4 more nuts, because the little kit I got only came with 4, because it's a replacement set, I guess, so they assume you already have some. But I think they came out really well. They should work good. Nice rubber grippers. Should have a nice hold on things, and you can see how they expand, and then you can tighten them back down. So yeah, good project. 1/2-inch plywood, nice and easy. Hope this video helped anybody that wants to make these things. If you got any questions, just leave a comment, and I'll get back to you for sure on whatever your question may be. So hope y'all enjoyed. See you in the next one.